Welcome to episode number 52 of Puke Talk Fanatics. I am here with Michael Duarte talking game three between the Nuggets and Lakers, and uh, I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are, Michael, and welcome.
Thanks for having me back on, Alex. I think we need to rename this podcast Late Night with Michael and Alex, or at least the episodes that I'm on, because we're doing this pretty late here on the West Coast and even later, almost 2 a.m. almost for you there on the East Coast. But that's what we get when we have these late playoff games that run deep into the night. At least these games for me, at least, and you, I guess, are a little bit earlier now that it's in the Western Conference Finals and the Conference Finals than the first two rounds when these tip-offs were 7 and 7:30 here, local time, Pacific time. That's even later for you on the East Coast to watch these games. But yeah, thanks for having me on. And unfortunately, we're coming to you. I think we probably thought this would be a much closer series when we scheduled to talk after game three. Instead, the Lakers are looking at elimination and their season possibly over on Monday with their backs against the wall after losing the first three.
What were your thoughts on the Lakers' defensive effort, allowing Jamal Murray to have the stats he put up tonight?
Yeah, and it's not just tonight. Obviously, the fourth quarter of game two, where he scored 23 points, and then becoming the fourth player in NBA history to score 30 points or more in an entire half, three different times now in the playoffs. And it's something interesting. The Lakers came into this series the number one defensive team in the playoffs entering this game. Denver was up there as well with them, but the Lakers were the better team defensively entering the playoffs, or not entering the playoffs, but entering this series thus far in the playoffs. And it feels like, especially late in the games when it comes to Jamal Murray, they've rolled over like my dog rolls around on the carpet after being in the rain. They're just not that number one ranked defensive team that they were after the trade deadline and that they've been through most of these playoffs. And the reason why, because you kind of just made it a broad question, what do I think about the Lakers defense on Jamal Murray? But specifically speaking, and I'm looking at Lakers head coach Darvin Ham here, he continues to, I don't know, I don't want to mince my words when I say this, so I want to say it to you and your listeners in a way that people can understand, especially in a way that you can understand through basketball terms. So I'll give you a little bit of things to share, especially through some of the post-game comments I heard. So one thing that was interesting was Jamal Murray after the game was talking about the difference between this series against the Lakers here in 2023 in the Western Conference Finals and the bubble in 2020. And he was specifically talking about how the Lakers were bigger. They had more size than the Nuggets in the bubble in 2020. That starting lineup, if I recall, was Dwight Howard starting at center against Nikola Jokic, obviously. Anthony Davis at the 4, the power forward position. LeBron James at the 3. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at the 2. And then I think they had Kyle Kuzma actually at the 2 and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at the 1. That's a very long team. It's a very big team to go up against the Nuggets. And obviously it worked. And that was part of the defensive genius that was Frank Vogel at the time, who guided the Lakers to that championship in the bubble. He did some amazing things in the first round of that series to stop Damian Lillard and match up against the Blazers. Then in the second round against the Rockets, he went small against the Rockets, who kind of invented the small ball with Mike D'Antoni, with a team that had James Harden and Russell Westbrook, and they were just always small. PJ Tucker, I think, was their center back then. And then he didn't make the mistake of saying, oh, it worked against the Rockets, so we're going to do it again against the Nuggets. No, he completely changed the starting lineup. And guys like JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard, who were centers who didn't even play in that Rockets series, suddenly were thrown into a starring role on the marquee in the series with the Nuggets. And so the Lakers went from beating the Rockets at their own game going small to matching up big and beating the Nuggets by going big. And that was what Jamal Murray remembered of that series, but that they were just too small. They were losing the rebounding battle. They were losing in the paint. They were giving the Lakers second chance opportunities. and they couldn't even get shots off because they were longer and a better defensive team. So and the reason why I bring this up is not to, reminisce about the bubble and the Lakers last championship game. I bring it up because now this Lakers roster looks a little bit different, but they could still match up with the Nuggets and go big. They have the personnel to do so. But so far, through the first 3 games of this series, Lakers head coach Darvin Ham has not done that. And he continues to put D'Angelo Russell, like a 6'3" guard, into the starting lineup. He's a defensive liability. He's now minus 53 when he's on the court in the series. That means every single time D'Angelo Russell is on the court for the first 3 games, the other team outscores the Lakers by 53 points. That's insane, Alex. That's like unheard of. And knowing these numbers, seeing the stats in front of him, he continues to put Russell on the court. And what the Nuggets are doing when they see him, it's like your eyes on Thanksgiving when you see all the food at the table in front of you, right? You're like, I'm going to eat. I'm excited. And so that's what the Nuggets are doing on offense. Jamal Murray sees when D'Angelo Russell's on the court, I am going to either take this guy one-on-one, shoot over him, or if he's not guarding me, I'm going to get a pick so that we switch and he is guarding me and I'm still going to shoot over him. Or they're going to find a way to isolate D'Angelo Russell on defense and make him have to guard someone else or switch over. And D'Angelo Russell has been completely late on help when they either double team Jokic or Murray to other guys, leaving KCP open for threes, Brent Brown open for threes, Michael Porter Jr. open for threes. So to me, D'Angelo Russell has been a liability. I thought that Darvin Ham, down 0-2 in the series, knowing they needed to win game 3, would bench D'Angelo Russell to start game 3 and put Rui Hachimura in the starting lineup. The best 5 that I've seen for the Lakers has been Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Jared Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura, and Austin Reeves. That's been the best 5 on the court. That 5 has the height and the length to match up with the Nuggets. Well, somebody hearing that 5 would be like, well, who's going to be your point guard? Well, at various times this year, Austin Reeves has been the primarily ball handler, taking the ball up the court, creating. He did that a lot when LeBron James was hurt with that right tendon foot injury. And then if we go back to that bubble series, when they went big and throughout most of that season when they didn't really have a true point guard, LeBron James was playing point guard on that team. And by the way, he's a future Hall of Famer, arguably the greatest player of all time, one of the top assist leaders in regular season and in the postseason. He can absolutely handle the ball and be point guard for the Lakers if they need him to in those minutes. But for whatever reason, they don't do it. And so what happens is what you saw happen in the fourth quarter. Go back and watch the 5 3-pointers that the Nuggets hit in the fourth quarter of game 2. They hit 5 in a row, and I believe they hit 9 over the last 15 minutes of the game. All the time when D'Lo was on there, he was either late rotations, meaning a guy got an open 3, he didn't rotate fast enough, he wasn't anticipating it on a Jokic kick out. I know that LeBron said that some of them were contested, and yes, if D'Angelo Russell's running at you with his hand up, and maybe it's contested, but if he had gotten there faster, the guy probably doesn't even shoot it at all, and you're not giving him that shot. So there were a lot of moments like that happened at the end of game 2. There were some great shots by Jamal Murray, who was hot. But the thing about Jamal Murray is he's a guy that if he sees a couple shots go in, makes a basket, makes a couple baskets, he can get hot very fast, right? It's like that old arcade game, NBA Jam. You get 2 in a row, and then all of a sudden you're on fire, right? And the ball's on fire and you make everything. So you can't let Jamal Murray do that. But when D'Angelo Russell is guarding Jamal Murray and he sees it going, it's over. And you would think that Darvin Ham would adjust and get him out of the game and go to that big lineup that's been working, and he hasn't. And to me, I'm just going to look at this game. D'Angelo Russell played the first 9 minutes of the game. When he came out, the Lakers were down by 12. They then went down by 14 right after that. Then they came all the way back, and right before halftime, they tied the game at 51-51. So over the next 14 minutes with D'Angelo Russell on the bench, they erase that 14-point deficit and they tie it up. You would think that that's enough as a head coach to know to bench him for the second half. But no, at the start of the third quarter, D'Angelo Russell is right back out there. And obviously, the Lakers had an opportunity with Joker in foul trouble with 4 fouls and Murray scoreless to start the third quarter to go up by like 10 points and really put the Nuggets away and win game 3. But Darvin Ham left D'Angelo Russell in the game. They did not take advantage of the fact that Joker was in foul trouble and Murray was cold. They let the Nuggets hang around. And when the fourth quarter started, Jokic came back out, Murray got fire, and those two guys closed the game, and it was too late, too late for the Lakers. And so that's a long diatribe I just said there, but that's what's wrong with the Lakers, not just defensively in this series, but all of it. It is Darvin Ham's inability to bench D'Angelo Russell and go with a big lineup that could compete with this team and ultimately win the series had he just done this from game 1.
What do you think about Darvin Ham maybe changing the narrative of the game, and what do you think could have done better to beat the Nuggets?
Yeah, I think I just said it. I think I just kind of explained it to you there. So I don't have to go into that much detail. You can just see the answer before. But again, I don't know why he thought the starting lineup from game 6 against the Warriors would work in game 1 against the Nuggets. They are two completely different teams. The Nuggets are a lot bigger team. They play in the paint through Nikola Jokic, the same as the Lakers do with Anthony Davis. They're actually a more team that mirrors the Lakers than the smaller Grizzlies and the smaller Warriors the Lakers played in the first and second round. So why Darvin Ham thought putting little 6-foot Dennis Schroeder to start the game on a 6'4", 6'5" Jamal Murray would work is just beyond me. It's a head scratching decision. And obviously by the end of that first quarter in game 1, the Lakers had been out rebounded like 20-3. And Jokic had like 6 offensive rebounds by himself. And once the Lakers adjusted and put Rui Hachimura in the game to go big, Joker didn't have any more offensive rebounds. And so, the narrative after game 1, Alex, was that the Lakers found something by putting a smaller guy on Jokic defensively and allowing Anthony Davis to kind of play roamer to guard Michael Porter Jr. or Aaron Gordon a little bit and lay off of them and be able to protect the rim and hope that a smaller guy could kind of make life a little bit difficult on Jokic. But to me, that was not the adjustment they needed to make. To me, as I said before, your best starting 5, your biggest, longest, best matchup starting 5 is Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Austin Reeves, Jared Vanderbilt, and Rui Hachimura. To me, those guys need to be starting. They need to play the bulk of the minutes. They need to be starting the third quarter. It's the Western Conference Finals. You're a few wins away from the NBA Finals. Your season could be over. It's not time to stroke guys' egos like D'Angelo Russell and leave him in the starting lineup. It's not times to let Schroeder go out there and get buried. You have to do whatever it takes to win. And I don't think, and I'm just being honest here, I don't think Darvin Ham is doing whatever it takes to win. I just don't. He says it's just about a mindset. You just have to be aggressive. You have to play with urgency, effort, and focus. But it's not that. At the end of the day, you look like a big guy, Alex. How tall are you?
I'm like 5'11".
Okay, so if you were 5'11" and a guy who's 5'5" was guarding you, you should dominate that guy, right?
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that guy's not playing hard enough or more aggressive or energy and focus. It's just that he's guarding a guy who's bigger than him. And it's hard to do. And in your case, that's what's happening. In the Lakers' case, that's what's happening. The minutes that those guys are on the floor, it's not working. And the Lakers now, their season could be over on Monday, and it might be too late for Darvin Ham to make the necessary adjustments to make. Like I said, this is not about his predecessor and Frank Vogel, but I thought Frank Vogel was very good at coming up with defensive matchups and defensive strategies in games. And when he played the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals 3 years ago, he went big. He didn't leave the small lineup out there. He didn't leave guys who'd been starting all season out there just because they're making certain amounts of money. He went with the best matchup. It didn't matter how much guys have been playing. He went with that. And he's not doing that right now. Darvin Ham is not doing that right now in this series, and it's costing him. And the other two things I wanted to say was, before this game 3, looking back, the Lakers had something they could build off of and be confident about in the first 2 games in Denver. I looked at it, they won 5 of the 8 quarters. So after 8 quarters in Denver in those first 2 games, the Lakers won 5 of them. And most of those 5, Alex, was when D'Angelo Russell was on the bench. Yeah. So to me, that was something you could be confident about. But here in game 4, D'Angelo Russell basically played 2 full quarters, 1 and 3. And they lost those quarters badly in this game. And then they end up losing the game badly. And the 1 quarter they won was the second quarter when D'Lo was on the bench. So to me, and you can also look at that game too, there was a couple plays that changed momentum. LeBron James went up for a wide open breakaway dunk. He dribbled the ball out of bounds. There was a play at the end of the third quarter where they called a goaltending on Anthony Davis when it didn't really look like a goaltending. Those plays that can take a crowd out of it and they can go put you up by 8 or 10 points and allow you maybe to build a bigger lead. Those are game-changing plays, not only in the game, but in this series. And the reason I bring that up is because we're down to the final 4 teams in all of the NBA. The margin for error is like razor thin. It's like this small. And so when you leave a guy like D'Angelo Russell on the court for 18 minutes instead of 10, those 8 minutes in which maybe you could have had a bigger positive, scored more points, or gotten a little bit of a lead can be the difference in a game and in a series. And we might look back on it and be like, had he just benched D'Angelo Russell and Dennis Schroeder and gone with Vanderbilt and Hachimura from game 1, the Lakers might have ended up winning this series, but too little too late now.
So what are your initial thoughts on the next game? And do you think the Lakers have a serious chance of making it interesting to make it 3-2?
I'll be honest, no. I'll be honest, Alex, with you. No. Somebody should call Fred again because it's time to turn out the lights on the Lakers season. Looking at the body language of the Lakers after this game 3 loss, they just seemed defeated. They seemed dejected, defeated. They were saying the right things. They were saying the cliches. We have to take it 1 game at a time. It's a 1-game series. No one's ever done this before in history. We are going to use that as fuel and motivation. We just have to win 1 game. But their body language was saying, we're done. That's what their body language was saying. You know, we're down 3-0 to a team that we're going to have to go back to Denver in altitude and play 2 more times. And we just can't seem to figure out how to beat this team yet. Now, it's a big if, but if Darvin Ham does do what I said, he goes big in that final game. He doesn't let this team go down double digits early. If they can go up double digits early, maybe they can cruise to a victory because in game 4, because human nature says if the Denver Nuggets go down 15, 20 points in the first half, they know they have 3 more games to play. They know they're going back home. They might not waste energy, effort, and everything to try to fight back into that game. And they may say, we're going to save it for game 5 in Denver when we're at home. And maybe the Lakers can win a game in the series. I could see that happening, especially if Darvin Ham makes the adjustments. If he goes with the same starting lineup and they go down double digits again and D'Angelo Russell's now a minus 70 for the series or something, this series will be over. They're going to get swept. But the one thing I'll say is the Lakers have been down 3-0 in a playoff series 8 times in their franchise history. In those 8 times, they have never won a game, not even 1 game. That means every time they went down 3-0, they get swept. The last time they were down 3-0 was in 2013. That was, of course, the terrible year where Kobe tore his Achilles, and it was Dwight Howard and Steve Nash was hurt that year. It was just a bad team that fought to get into the playoffs and ended up playing the Spurs. They went down 3-0, just like this, fourth game at home. The Spurs swept them. It was ugly. Andrew Bynum got ejected. Dwight Howard got ejected. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to come back and make this series 3-2. I think this series is either over on Monday and they get swept, or if they can get a big lead and get some momentum, they can win game 4 and then they'll lose game 5 in Denver.
It should be interesting to see your thoughts and how Darvingham does. And thank you so much for coming on and talking Lakers. And I hope to have you back on soon.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. And hopefully you are recovering from yet another Philly sports disappointment with the Sixers losing that game 7 to Boston, and
Yeah,
coming so close for Philadelphia again, and yet not enough to finish it off.
yeah. I'll be fine.
Okay, good.